Welcome back, troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. Man, I'm really happy today. It's finally here, the new Troublemaker Tele. It's not the one that I initially wanted, but hey, at least these things are finally starting to come out. So that means we're tackling, once again, the Parallel Universe version 2 guitar here. And this is the White Telecaster Deluxe. They're just calling it the Troublemaker Tele Deluxe, which I think is kind of sad because they're clearly going for the Randy Rhoads vibe on this one. And it looks like we get that mint green case again. So just in case you missed all the other unboxings here, the Parallel Universe version 2, they're just basically mixing and matching Fender guitars together, Gibsons with Fenders. They're just doing a whole bunch of stuff. We've reviewed the models like the Maverick Dorado, there was the Jazz Strat, and then just last week we did the Uptown Cat. So far, the Jazz Strat did not like that guitar very much. It looks cool, but unfortunately I just didn't like it. And apparently I'm not the only one that's ever felt that way. The Dorado was not for me, but it kind of looked cool. But the Uptown Cat, I didn't like the way it looked, but my goodness, that is the #1 guitar to beat from this series. I would suggest you guys buy one of those. But I'm really excited to see this one because earlier this year we reviewed the 2018, the original Troublemaker Tele. And that one was more so based on Les Paul standard specs. So let's go ahead and get it. Our first look at, oh wow. That is going to look so cool once this finish starts to check and age. Oh wow. You know, I didn't really care about this white one because there's also a black one within this series that isn't out yet. So this one's got that white matching headstock, that beautifully dark fretboard, but what really makes this whole white body come to life is this really thick edge binding right here. It's not multi-ply like a Les Paul custom, that's a bit of a letdown, that probably could have looked pretty cool. But man, this guitar is hairy. That's the one bad thing about these cases, they shed. Take care of that. That way it looks nice and clean for this video footage. Much better. But as I was saying, the binding, that would have looked cool if they would have multiplied it. And maybe even better had they had done it on the back. I think that would really set this one apart because this is the second most expensive one within their offerings. That's what's kind of strange about the Parallel Universe version 2s, is there's different price points. So I think the cheapest ones are like $19.99 and then the most expensive offerings are $24.99. This one's slightly below that at $23.99. So the question that we have to answer today, is it worth it? So far, the looks, it's blowing me away. But there's also a few things that I'm seeing that, maybe they could have done a little bit of a better job on. But I am happy to see this mahogany neck. I still don't know how I feel about the painted headstock cap. I mean, that definitely makes it feel more like a Fender-esque guitar. But so far, on first impressions, this thing's looking pretty cool. But let's go ahead and check out our case candy here real quick. Because there's a little bit of controversy last time as to whether that poker chip was stock or not. So I'm curious if they actually included one. Yes, they did. Okay, so that's what it looks like. Oh, Fender, they did something funny on this one. Rowdy and Trouble. Because that's definitely your Trouble, and this is your Rowdy. So that's cool that they do give you a poker chip. I will definitely be installing that. But other than that, it just looks like your basic stuff. Really cheap, flimsy certificate of authenticity. I wish they would do something more special with these. I mean, I get it. It's a USA, not a custom shop, so at least you get something. But yeah, let's go ahead and throw this one on the workbench, take an individual look at its parts and specs, and compare this one to the original 2018 version. Because if you remember correctly, I didn't love that guitar. So I want to know if these new ones that are more expensive made the guitar any better. Let's find out. Inside the Troublemaker Deluxe. Man, I didn't realize so much had changed between the first iteration and the second. I thought they just dressed it up as like a Les Paul custom type thing and they went from there, but no, we've got a lot to go over. But first off, let's talk about this finish. So it's actually a nitro finish. So just like I was saying when I unboxed it, this will actually age and check. But what's kind of cool about this Olympic white finish is if you actually compare it to pure white, it's already slightly yellowed. So, you know, straight out of the box, this thing reminded me of one of those really rare Les Paul Artisans from 1982 with the white finish. They also had the black binding. So this is just a really cool vibe to me. But let's go ahead and check out these pickups. So last time, the Troublemaker Tele, I thought it sounded very dark. And they were using the Shawbucker 1 and 2T pickups. But this one has the same pickups that we found in that Uptown Strat. And I absolutely fell in love with those, so I'm very excited to see how these custom double tap humbuckers will sound within this. Because if you remember, the only thing I didn't like about the Uptown Strat was the fact that it did not have the tune-o-matic and stop bar tailpiece, and it had the traditional Stratocaster thing. So in theory, this should actually even be a better guitar, which I'm really excited for. As far as the pickup cavities, it looks like you can fit pretty much just about any humbucker in here. I had some people asking me that, because apparently some wide range humbuckers are actually wider. But yes, if you don't like these Fender humbuckers, it does appear you could put any humbucker in those. And it looks like we just got the standard barcodes in here. And here is our next topic, MAHSLD. Unfortunately, these do not have a maple top, which I'm really sad about because a white Les Paul Custom would have one because they weren't introduced until 1974-ish. And at that point in time, they had it. But we're going to have a completely different talk when I review the Black Beauty version of one of these that has the 3 pickups. So make sure you subscribe to my channel so you don't miss that review whenever it does come out. But yes, this is just a complete mahogany slab. They've done away with that maple top that the original Troublemaker Tele had, which I think is really unfortunate because that's what made it very troublesome. So this one's just really going after like a fancy Telecaster Deluxe, and it's not quite ruffling as many feathers. I will say that the pickup cavities, they look rather strange. They got a lot of black paint. I'm guessing that's the shielding paint that they used. It's kind of like mixing with the white maybe. But one QC thing that I'm noticing is this bridge pickup cover. There's plastic film that comes on its stock. I think it's reacting to the pickups because you can see there's like a slightly, yellowish tinge right there. And I tried cleaning that off. It looked good for a minute, but then it went back to looking like this. So in my opinion, I think they need to look into that and fix whatever issue's causing that because it kind of looks bad. But just like on the other Troublemaker Tele, this uses the exact same stuff that Gibson uses. It's the Advanced Plating Incorporated brand, API right there. And you can see it right there on the tailpiece. Very cool, gold hardware, looks great. And since these things are like $400 to $500 more than the original ones, what makes these even better is A, the pickups. I'm guessing I'm going to like them better, but look, we've got fancy electronics here. They call them the double tap because you can tap these pickups. And it's not like a super single coil sound. It usually just adds a little bit of chiminess if this is anything like the Uptown Strat. And this time, instead of a cream pickguard, we get a multiply black one. So this one's 3 layers, black, white, black. And unlike the Uptown Strat, yeah, we're definitely leaving that puppy on. That looks great. I think what sells this whole guitar is this side profile view, and that's something that the stock photos did not capture very well. That's just such an insanely beautiful look. Let's go ahead and grab these pickup readings. So last time our bridge pickup was really hot, yep, 15.71, then our neck's half that, yep, 7.71, so these are the exact same pickups as in that other one. And don't forget, you can also tap them to get about 25% less on the readings here. And the last thing for us to talk about is I've been pretty hard about these in the past videos, saying that I don't like the way that they look as compared to the Gibson versions, but this one, I like it because it's so gaudy and in your face, it's gold, it's meant to stand out. So for that, I think this switch does a very good job. But now we need to get that poker chip on here. Before and after. I don't know how I feel about it. I like it, but I almost think it might look better without it. One thing I'm noticing about these poker chips on these style is they kind of lift up at the edges due to it being secured directly in the center like that, having a bunch of pressure. But I'll leave it on for the rest of the review. Now moving on to the neck, a lot of things changed here. So we still have the 22 medium jumbo frets. They used the Gibson radius on this one, 12 inches. But a huge downfall to me, spec-wise, might actually be a big win for somebody who loves Fenders, but still wants something that looks kind of Gibson-esque. Because they did the Fender scale length on this, 25.5. So the original Troublemaker Teles still have a place on the used market because they are completely different compared to this Volume 2. As far as the rest of the specs, our bone nut measures 1.69 inches, and that increases to 2.01 by the 12th. First fret neck depth, 0.82, and stays very consistent, 0.86 by the 12th. It is just your standard C neck shape. I actually enjoy it. That's kind of how the last one was as well. And I'm really digging this ebony fretboard on this one, and I love the block inlays. It makes it look so fancy. However, I really wish they would just up their game a little bit and put mother of pearl instead of this cheap pearloid stuff, but I get it. That's just what they use on everything else. In case you're interested in a little factoid, they've actually made master-built, custom-shop versions of this guitar previously. Occasionally, one or two of those will show up on Reverb used. So if you like this design but wouldn't be caught dead playing anything else but a custom shop guitar, they do exist. They do exist. But face of our headstock here, it is a painted cap, so it's completely white here. And I'm digging that Fender gold logo. That looks great compared to this gold. You get the fancy tips right here, that single string tree. But where they really let me down here is this. That looks terrible. So what you're seeing is the skunk stripe being exposed on the top, but it gets painted over here. It just looks so goofy. And they also have this line slightly off center. So if they wanted to improve, maybe they could straighten that up a little bit and maybe shoot this with a little bit of black. That way it hides that. Because in my opinion, it kind of takes away from some of the beauty. Or I guess if you want to get really crazy, they could just do a whole walnut stripe down the entire center of the guitar. That would look cool. I love multi-pieced fretboards like that. Now we move on to the backside. So something interesting. It looks like Fender is moving on their way to a PCB system. Like they still got the pots on the outside, but it looks like they're kind of all connected together on that. Gibson caught a lot of flack in the past for using systems like that, but I think since these are not built directly within that, people might be more willing to accept them. I mean, Fender uses those, I think, for their treble bleeds and stuff too. Something similar to that. I see them sticking off the sides occasionally. But you got your two push poles right here for your tap, and your CTS branded ones on the side right there. And you'll notice you have these little grounding tabs in each of these cavities. So it does completely ground off to the back plate, which also has some shielding to it. So that's nice. It would have been cool to see some black back binding, but unfortunately no. But you get your golden output jack right there, and you get the large style Fender strap buttons in your usual locations. And your neck plate on this one has your serial number up here and just says Parallel Universe. And then, while the whole body is a gloss nitro, which is a premium feature, they've done the satin nitro on this again. Because that was the one thing with the Uptown Strat that I was wishing that they had still done, the satin nitro, because it just feels even smoother. This is definitely a player's guitar. I have not plugged this thing in yet, but I have really high hopes for it, because I'm digging the way that it looks. I know I love the pickups that are in here. I love the tapping sounds even. I'm really looking forward to this one. But the tuners, they're just regular, not locking or anything. Overall, the QC of this instrument, it appears to be pretty good. There was just a few cosmetic things that I would have changed. Pretty much the only thing we can knock them on is the golden covers, and that's probably not even the builder's faults. So I think they've done a fantastic job with these guys so far. And it comes in at 9 pounds, 3.9 ounces. I can't wait to plug this beauty in. Let's go. Now that we know all about the new Troublemaker Deluxe from Fender, what are my final thoughts on this Parallel Universe 2 guitar? Okay, so the looks, it gets an absolute A. Not an A+, just an A because of the few things that we found on the workbench and some other things that they could have done to make it look a little bit fancier. But I really dig the vibe of this Tele, and I was not all that excited for this particular one. I thought the Black Beauty one was going to be my favorite, but we'll have to find out when that one comes in. But as far as the tone, I would also give the tone an A because the tones are very similar to the Uptown Strat. I really enjoy these custom double tap humbuckers that they've got going on here. This is definitely a winning set of pickups in my eyes. However, I will say that the taps are quite noisy on this guitar. I don't remember hearing that on the Stratocaster, but on this one, back in the recording, it really does have a hum to it. But as long as you're playing, it doesn't really come through in the recordings as much. But I really like these witch hat knobs. They're so easy to tap, because you can either tap them on the top like you normally do on a knob, or they've got these skirts. They're so large that it's easy to do that as well, so that's kind of a nice little feature. And once again, I thought the clean tones were very nice on these, but the distorted, I thought it sounded darker in this guitar as compared to the Uptown. But as compared to the original Troublemaker Tele, I think it's the taps that make this one even better, because I thought that guitar was a little bit too dark sounding sometimes. So it's nice to be able to brighten it up when you want that traditional Fender tones. I guess one other small thing that we can talk about is these knobs move so freely. Sometimes when you tap it, you accidentally roll it off. Whereas the tone ones, they're like stuck. They're molasses in compared to these push-push pots. I wasn't really digging the distorted tones in the room, but after I heard it back in the recording, it's like, yeah, that's a chunky sounding Telecaster. So ultimately, I think I do prefer the new Troublemakers over the old ones, but how does this one rank within all the Parallel Universe 2 guitars so far? Does it dethrone this one? I'm gonna say no. I think I ultimately preferred this goofy looking thing. The looks have definitely grown on me a little bit. It's quirky, but it sounds fantastic. I think the biggest thing is the feel on this one. Maybe it's because it has the Gibson scale and that's what I'm mainly used to. Or maybe it has to do with the slinkiness that the trem system gives to it. But I think ultimately I prefer the sound and feel of the Uptown as compared to this. But if I was actually going to choose one just for me based on looks and sound, everything that we know about these two guitars, I would probably go with this one. I also view it as a more collectible instrument. I mean, even the original Troublemakers are still fetching their new prices most times, sometimes even higher, whereas most of the Volume 1 Parallel Universes have like deflated by half in value. But one last thing I want to talk about, I was praising the satin neck on this one, but I ended up preferring the gloss nitro of this one, because I actually found this neck to be a little bit sticky feeling, but after you play it in a little bit, I'm sure it'll feel pretty much the exact same. So all in all, yes, I would suggest the new Troublemaker Tele. They're kind of expensive, but I think it's worth it because it's just such a fantastic looking guitar, and it sounds great too. So if you're interested in purchasing one of these, you can support the show by buying it at Sweetwater. I have an affiliate link in the description. Otherwise, I hope you troglodytes enjoyed this review and demo of the Troublemaker Tele. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.